This episode is sponsored by Pareto Holdings, which was founded by John Oringer and Ed Lando to invest and incubate the next generation of startups. John and Ed and the team at Pareto are launching and incubating companies based right here in Miami. Recently they just announced the Pareto Pre-Seed program, which aims to be the first check in to help founders get their ideas off the ground. I think what makes this program really interesting, and I've talked to the team over there, is that they're going to try to get back to applicants that are trying to start these companies within 48 hours and make investment decisions after one short call. That means that founders can have pre-seed funding in their accounts in as little as a few days. So if you want to learn more about this program, visit pareto20.com. That's PARETO20.com. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 32 of the Miami Tech Pod. I'm Cesar, joined by Will, Maria, and Brian, and we have a special guest on the pod this week, Cesi de Quesada Covey. Welcome to the Miami Tech Pod.
It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
And Cesi, you've had an amazing career in tech. A lot of people, in Miami know you, but you're a partner at the Venture City right now. You spent 7 years plus at Facebook and worked in the White House. Why don't we just jump right in and share a little bit about your journey in tech with the listeners of the pod?
Sure thing. It's really nice to be here. So I grew up in Miami. And I started my career focused on economic opportunity and moved to DC at a time where there was a lot of hope and change, and there was a lot of excitement for what President Obama was doing. And I had the opportunity to join the Obama administration to really think about how to engage with the business community and the tech community. And at that time, DC was really, really excited about what the tech community was doing and the innovation that was coming from the community, and was thinking about public-private partnerships and how a lot of the policies that the president was trying to drive could be done faster and better through partnerships with the tech community. And I was on the front lines in the Office of Public Engagement of thinking through how we could turn those into action. And from there, I had the opportunity to join Facebook, where I worked on some of the company's biggest bets focused on underserved users. So really thinking about how we could go outside of the traditional Blue app. And so internet.org, which was our big bet focused on connectivity. I worked on SMB and payments. I worked in Latin America developer partnerships. And last, I worked on our crypto project. So I started when it was Libra Calibra, and now it's NoviDM. So I've seen sort of the evolution of the names. And last November, we came back to Miami because we missed family and we wanted to be closer. And we were only planning on coming back for 9 months. We rented our house in San Francisco for 9 months with the plan that we were going to move back. And we just missed home. We missed being close to family. We missed our friends. And so coming, we started thinking about staying. And one of the things that we noticed was that my husband is also in tech, that the tech community here was really, really taking off, that it was much different than when we left to San Francisco in 2016, and that there is a ton of interesting ideas, founders, and funders that were in this space. So I had the opportunity to join the Venture City as a partner, which was super exciting because I've known Laura, the CEO, from our days back at Facebook, but also because we combine this really interesting cross-pollination between a really big focus in product, which is something that I worked on, with also the capital so that people can build their great ideas. And so I'm delighted to be back home. And it's been sort of the best part of the pandemic. Has been incredibly tough for everyone, but being able to come back home and to realize the opportunity of both being in tech and being in a area city that I love close to family has been amazing.
And you were at Facebook for 7 years, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, nearly 8. I think I was like 2 months shy.
That's amazing. I mean, I feel like is that typical at Facebook? Do you see like a lot of employee churn, or do you see folks that work on projects and just bounce around to different roles and just kind of stay with the company for extended periods of time?
I don't know what the sort of the trends are, but Facebook has this saying that working at Facebook is a jungle gym and that you can create your own career and sort of figure out the path, that there's no one path for anyone. And I definitely found that to be true. I got to work on really cool projects and think about how we could meet our goals and objectives from different perspectives. And so I think that is really unique about Facebook, that it really, you're not set on sort of the path that you go into it.
That's great. And talk to us a little bit about your work now with the Venture City.
So the Venture City was founded with this idea that if you invest in pre-seed and seed companies and think about product-led growth and the strategies that have been deployed by the best companies in Silicon Valley, that you can help companies succeed. And one of the things that's really unique about the Venture City is that it's been global from day one. So it's really focused on founders from anywhere that have great ideas. And so while it is dual headquartered in Spain and in Miami, it's investing in Latin America and in Africa and the US and in Europe. And so it's this idea that great ideas come from anywhere. There's no sort of zip code designation to where they're coming from. And that if you bring a group of experienced operators that are in-house to the Venture City and you use them as a sort of a way to scale a startup's idea or a founder's great idea through a 3-month program, that you're going to see incredible results, and that the startup is going to be all the stronger, all the better, and sort of all the wiser for it. And so we have this really fantastic group of about 10 to 12 people that are just dedicated to working day in and day out with startups while they first join the Venture City and then sort of graduate from the program and then are a part of everything that we do from there on. And so it's this, for me, one of the things that really resonated is that it's operators with cash. So it's like sort of taking the venture model and spinning it on its head a little bit and really focusing on sort of the product experience and expertise, not just the cash that right now we're so fortuitous is really available in the market.
So Cesi, you've got a lot of background with a bunch of different projects from your time in politics and also at Facebook. Like, is your experience working on Zuckbucks and things like that? Is it is it helping you with some of the stuff you guys are doing at Venture City? Like, are you excited about applying that knowledge and that experience to helping some of these companies scale?
Just so you know, we have a bingo sheet that you can't see for this episode, and Zuckbucks is one of the pieces that Brian just landed. So good job, Brian.
I think it's important to know that Zuckbucks was never the name.
She's still spinning, like the spin zone. I want to clarify, Zuckbucks is not the name.
This is Cesi is saying this because she has like a trillion Libra or Lira or whatever it is in a wallet somewhere in cold storage.
Exactly.
She's waiting for Zuckbucks, the name, to take off so that she can start buying cryptoys soon.
No, every time that Brian and I get together, he always manages to like somewhere insert Zuckbucks, and every time I'm like, it's not called Zuckbucks. Like even when I was working on the project. So I'm glad that if you really do have a bingo card, that's quite exciting that it was an early point in the bingo card. No, Brian, to your question, so at Facebook, like one of the reasons that I stayed for the time that I did was because I just got to move on to, I got to move to a bunch of different projects where the company was really investing. And so in all of the projects that I was on, we created specialized teams that were focused on it. And so they were really, really small teams of about, starting from somewhere between 30 people and then scaling up, that were given a problem set and asked to work on it. And so in that way, it was sort of akin to the work that we're doing with pre-seed and seed companies, because it was really lean teams. We had to sort of fight for resources and get more resources, but it wasn't core to the business when I started on those teams. And so that experience of growing and scaling the opportunity and finding product market fit is something that I've always found really, really exciting and have been excited to do now in this new role.
Awesome, Cesi. I want to get your thoughts in Miami and crypto in general on that intersection, because it seems like pretty quickly there's been a huge movement around the crypto scene in Miami to kind of establish itself as one of the crypto hubs in the world, not just the country. Mayor Suarez, obviously, he's taking a huge role in making sure that folks in the crypto space feel welcomed. Curious, you have such a great background in crypto. How do you feel about what's happening locally in Miami when it comes to the crypto scene and entrepreneurship in that space?
I think that Miami has accelerated the conversation around crypto. And, when I started working on Libra Calibra, one of our focuses was on making sure that this idea of crypto became more mainstream. And our goal was always to launch a wallet and have a cryptocurrency that would really meet the needs of underserved, especially at the beginning when we were focused on the remittance market and how we could move cash in a much more efficient way. But there was always a secondary goal that we knew that if Facebook was investing in this area, that people would start paying attention to it. And we really saw that blockchain technology was the technology of the future, and that crypto was going to be a technology that everyone was going to use and an asset that was going to become more mainstream. And so we were really excited about being able to change the dynamics away from this is something that people only use in nefarious ways to a conversation like this is a big company that is taking it seriously. And I think that what Miami has been able to do is really accelerate that conversation around that adoption and making it mainstream and having all sorts of people talk about it and introducing the idea to the everyday. And so it's been amazing to see how many more people are aware about the technology and how exciting and interested people are to better educate themselves, even if they're not using it yet, but thinking about what the applications could be. And it has moved forward between the pandemic and then the excitement that's come from all the work that's happening locally on the ground. It's moved forward the conversations in real ways that I think that we would be, I don't know how many years back, but we wouldn't be as far along if it hadn't been for the focus that our unique area has brought to crypto.
Do you think that and not to talk too much about crypto because that's not the most important thing, but do you think that Miami is going to be influential in regards to crypto adoption in the region of LATAM and sort of the hemisphere because of its geographic position and sort of population density and makeup?
I think so. When I talk to people that are in traditional financial services, of which Miami sort of sets the tone in a lot of ways for Latin America, they're diversifying portfolios into crypto. And a lot of the family offices are diversifying their portfolios into crypto. And so for me, that's a signal that that things are that the region is moving in that direction. What happened in El Salvador was really interesting to see. I don't know how much Miami can take sort of direct credit for that, but I think that the conversation being had here definitely influences that. And I think that the more people here are wondering if they can get money cheaper, easier, faster to their family back home, especially when it comes to remittances, that's really interesting. And Miami could play a huge role there because so much of our economy really makes sure that they're supporting folks back home and in the region.
So Cesi, is crypto a sector that Venture City is now investing in? And what other sectors, for folks that are listening, do you guys focus on?
We did our first investment into crypto earlier this month, which was awesome. We haven't announced it yet, but I'm really, really excited about it. It's a fantastic team based out of LA that is thinking about really innovative ways to use actually NFTs, which I know is going to be a topic later, and thinking about them for the music industry. And so that was one of the investments that I was able to do in sort of my first 2 months, which was awesome to see us sort of flexing in that direction. We tend to invest into software-based companies that are pre-seed or seed, so early on. And our model is focused on sort of what we call the first ticket, which we're really trying to mean that we're there from day one. So it's your first institutional venture ticket that you're getting and the first funding that you're getting. We've recently dipped our toe into hardware, which is pretty cool to see. We've invested into 2 really interesting female founders that are thinking about new applications. One of them is for caregiving, and they're just a phenomenal company, and it's awesome to see how they're thinking about it. And then we did our first investment into hard biotech, so a baby formula company that is super exciting. This is like hard sciences, and it's, you know, they're working right now on the research and are focused in the lab. And I'm just so, I mean, talking to that founder makes my week every week, because it's they're just thinking about the world in a completely different way and how they can sort of be creating something new. And it's fun to sort of hear the inspiration that drives his passion.
I love hearing stories about, you know, money going into like really challenging problems, you know, like, because for years I had this sort of not thinly veiled disdain for Silicon Valley, where everything was like, oh, we're investing in virtual farms, right? It's like, no, start investing in fucking real farms, you know, and stuff like that. So this makes me happy to hear that you guys are, you know, investing in real world stuff that can have a real world impact on, you know, society, you know.
Yeah, and I was looking at our numbers the other day, and we've invested in 48% female founders this year, which is awesome. And so it really goes.
That is great. Yeah.
The thesis of the organization, which is how do you invest in the best ideas, not just sort of in traditional people that have been invested in. And at a time when we're seeing that there's so much liquidity in the market, but we're still seeing trends where female entrepreneurs and founders aren't getting access to capital. It is fantastic to see that we've really been pushing in our investment thesis forward in that way.
That's an interesting segue. So one of the things we were going to talk about this week was, so I tweeted about the amount of funding that like in the last 5 weeks, it's something like 400 and something million has gone into local startups. And this was all just pulled from Nancy's reporting, and Nancy and her team's reporting on Refresh Miami and tabulated. And it's interesting because one of the things that our friend Max, who was guest number 2 on the show, maybe, or 3 from Caribou, her question was like, how much of this money is going towards women and people of color and other underrepresented founders? And that's something that we weren't keeping track of, but it's great to hear that you guys are deploying so much capital to, you know, demographics that normally or historically haven't been getting that access.
Yeah, we just signed on for the diversity rider, which is also about diversifying cap tables and making sure that there are diverse funders that are in cap tables. So we're really focused on making sure that, you know, one of the values of the organization is that diversity leads to great products, and that we want to make sure that we are, again, just going forward and looking at the best ideas, regardless of sort of who has them. And so it's been, when I was thinking about leaving Facebook, for me, it was really important to go to somewhere that was investing in sort of their vision and not just saying that they believed in diverse, you know, founders and then saying, well, we just, it's a pipeline issue, we can't find them. Like that's not actually true. You can find them. We've been finding people with great ideas. And so it was one of the things that really stood out for me at the Venture City, of how they were focused on taking, even if it took a little bit of extra time, to make sure that your pipeline did reflect that they were focused on finding the best founders, regardless of sort of area or diversity.
On the topic of female founders, my cousin, who we've brought up in the podcast, Bea from Musicasa, is one of the recent.
Really?
Yeah, we found out just randomly.
This is a legendary story, Cesi. You don't know how Maria found out she had a cousin?
So Maria's, I think it was her mom, saw a picture of her and Bea together and was like, oh, you ran into your cousin Bea. And then Maria was like, that's my cousin. And then they put 2 and 2 together that they're like first or second cousins from Puerto Rico.
I mean, everyone in Puerto Rico knows, like, is related in some capacity. So yeah, it was actually a Miami Tech barbecue that we went to and posted pictures at. So small world.
That is amazing. I mean, particularly small world, but that is incredible. So Musicasa we invested in Musicasa. We invested in Bea. She's phenomenal. The Venture City was their lead investor. What she's building and the focus on community is incredible. And the way that she's thinking about serving sort of three sides to the music experience and thinking about building this three-sided marketplace, we're really, really excited about. I just had lunch with her on Tuesday, and we were thinking about all of the great partnerships that she's going to be doing and how to make sure that she's really meeting the needs of musicians. And my big plug for her, and so I'm going to say it here so that she hears it one more time, is that I think one of the goals should be that in the next year we have a Musicasa experience with Maluma, and I am happy to host it at my house.
There we go.
Happy for it to be, if it needs to be a smaller, more intimate experience, just one person, willing to do that.
Are there any other criterias on this rider of yours that you're providing for this Maluma experience? Like, is your husband James not allowed to be at this experience?
When James hears a podcast, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of follow-up questions about the goals that we're setting. But
And by the way, for the listeners that aren't aware, Musicasa is an actual platform where you can book aspiring artists or even famous artists to perform at your home, and then you can essentially sell tickets to it and share revenue across that ecosystem of artists. And it solves a really cool problem because I feel like live music just makes every party better, but it's not like terribly easy to just have this like large menu of options of live talent on a very specific night, all that. And I think I think she's going to do really well. I'm excited for her.
We should have her on the show as a guest at some point.
Yeah, let's do it.
You should absolutely have her on the show because she brings such a passion and like clarity of vision. The problem that Musicasa is trying to solve is, and I didn't know this before, is that Spotify has so many people that are putting songs on. And so it's really, really hard for artists to break through. And it's only through the community building of fans that artists are able to build followership and really break through. And so what she found was that by having these intimate concert experiences where people can really connect with the musicians that are creating it, you start that fanship and then help them create more followership to do better on some of these digital platforms. And I think in a time of COVID, when we all really miss community and all want to get back to normal as much as possible, these smaller, more intimate experiences are just really, really fun.
That's awesome. I want to shift gears here a little bit and talk about just an absolute explosion in the NFT space we've seen over the past few weeks. Cesi, definitely love your thoughts there. But Will, why don't you walk us through a little bit, the big moves, starting with the Visa purchase and I think OpenSea is raised a monster round, and just give us a state of play for the NFT space, Will.
Yeah, sure. It's an incredibly exciting time. I don't remember being this excited about just tech and just internet in general and all the opportunities online with startups in a very long time. This reminds me of I think the beginnings of like Web 2, like when Facebook was really and YouTube was really kind of to scale back in our college days. I think this is a huge paradigm shift in what we're experiencing. I think you're mentioning the Visa purchase of a CryptoPunk. That was cool to see. Again, one of the biggest credit card companies in the world basically say, we support this movement, where I think a lot of people see NFTs. Some people are like, is this money laundering? What's going on? This doesn't look legit. Well, here's a major credit card company saying, we believe in this space and we're going to find ways to support it. I think obviously there's a lot of friction in the space due to if you want to participate in this ecosystem, you got to set up a MetaMask wallet, you got to transfer your Ethereum over there. It's still not kind of ready for mainstream consumers to tap into. But I think that's going to be changing moving forward. I know a lot of folks are focused on making that a more accessible, economy to participate in. And yeah, there's just been huge movements. OpenSea is growing at a crazy clip. More and more people are being onboarded into this new internet. And I think what NFTs effectively do is it makes the internet ownable. And if you think about what that means, I mean, the opportunities are endless. I mean, to this day, the only real property that we were able to own on the internet was domain names. Like, to get a domain name, be like, I own water.com or I own, houses.com. Like, that was real digital property that you had that was worth value. You open up that model to anything that's digital, and it's just, there's an explosion of opportunity and excitement. So I think you're seeing people starting to realize that. I think the mental shift has happened where, and it happened very rapidly. A year ago, you could show someone a digital picture and you could say, would you pay 50 grand for this? Or would you pay $500 for this? And people be like, no, what, are you kidding me? It's a digital picture. I think that mentality for at least folks in the tech scene now, because I think it's still early innings, has completely shifted. I've seen my friends, I've seen my wife. Let me tell you, my wife's not very into tech. She kind of scoffs at a lot of stuff that I'm into. And she sees me into NFTs. Obviously, I'm in the industry and I have a company focused in the space. So she knows kind of the movement. And now I showed her a picture of a cool cat, which is basically looks like kind of like a Hello Kitty ripoff. But it's like a Bored Ape Yacht Club, but it's for kind of like a different audience. And she's like, how much? And I told her it was 1 ETH, which was around 3,000. And she's like, I could see that. I could see that. Let's invest in that. And that is that shocked me when she said that, because she's very frugal, she's very organized, she's not into tech, but the mentality has just shifted, where now people see value in digital art and ownership and things like that. And that's incredible to me. I think we're in the first inning. I think we're in the top of the first inning. This is a 10, 20, 30. This is like a legacy kind of thing that's going to be happening here. And I think we all need to be in the mix in some way. So lots of cool things that are happening. And yeah, I mean, I'm super bullish for sure.
Cesi, what are your thoughts? Do you have any NFTs? Have you kind of started investing in the space at all? Or?
I haven't started investing yet. I'm more seeing what's happening. I think that digital ownership is a first step in really thinking about the way that Will was talking about it. Really resonated, but thinking about how you can make pieces of our understanding of the digital world more tangible for folks. And I think that digital ownership part is going to be really key, especially as we start thinking about applications like land titles and academic records and things where they sort of like permeate into the mainstream. I'm really excited about the music drops that are going to be happening around NFTs, because when you look at sort of the music industry, I think that there's an opportunity to really rethink rights and give more power back to the artists. And I think you're going to see that regardless of whether it's music or art or other opportunities. And then I'm excited to see like how there's just been so much talk about these big contracts that are being signed. We're seeing sports leagues sign them, we're seeing big artists sign them, and I want to see what happens. And so like I'm sort of waiting at the edge of my seat to understand where these are going and what the big drops are going to be, and how people are going to interact with them. And then the one thing that like has really piqued, the other thing that's really piqued my interest are the racehorses. And so I've been
can we talk about that? What are these racehorses? I've been seeing people spending like insane amounts of money for this really digital like this horse, right? Like, can we explain that a little bit and unpack it?
So Zedrun is what it's called. And I tried to buy a horse from David Goldberg, who we should have on the pod at some point a couple of weeks ago, and my transaction froze. So I have a little bit of money just sitting there stuck in OpenSea or something somewhere. But he posted, I don't know if it was him or Alex Taub, who we should also have on the pod, was talking about how they're making so much money running these horses in these like virtual like horse races that he wanted to hire like a 20-year-old and pay them $4,000 a month to manage his stable of virtual horses.
That's awesome.
Like, how fucking unreal is this? That, like, someone could be graduating college, or not even graduate, like doing this in their spare time while in college, and it's being a virtual stable hand.
So it is incredible, and I think this is the big movement with NFTs in general. Is there's this whole segment of NFTs called play to earn, And I've made the comparison that NFTs are effectively like it's the stock market for the next generation of people that are more accessible. A mint, like when a mint or something drops, that's kind of like IPOing, and you can kind of participate in this new economy. You can kind of see the trading volume and all this different stuff. It's what Zed Run and Play to Earn games are effectively doing is they're giving out dividends for you holding out that token, right? So if you're holding onto some horses, you can do different things with it. Like, if you're holding like an avatar project, like a cool cat or a bored ape or, gutter cats, they're your social identity on the web. And then you hope the value goes up from the community. Things like Zed Run, which actually have gaming and utility built into it, it's not just an asset that you hold, but you can put that asset to work for you, and you can get returns just by holding that asset. You can race the horse and win winnings if your horse wins. You can breed the horse, which effectively creates new NFTs that you now own. And there's lots of things you could do, like, for example, with the stuff that Alex was mentioning, hiring a stable hand. This is the beginning of a very exciting new economy. Axie Infinity, which is kind of like now recognized as the one that kind of ushered in a lot of the play to earn economy. It's a turn-based strategy game on mobile. There are impoverished neighborhoods in the Philippines that are making their living playing Axie Infinity, earning the NFTs and selling them on the secondary market. That's their primary source of income, is getting on their Android phone, opening up Axie Infinity, playing the game, and earning these tokens. Effectively, you win. If you win the round, you get rewarded in what's called Smooth Love Potion. Smooth Love Potion is an NFT. It allows you to take your Axie and breed it with another Axie, effectively giving you a new NFT that you can sell on the secondary market. So you could then sell the Smooth Love Potion as an NFT for revenue, and you can sell your new Axie that you minted for revenue. So people are getting out of poverty by creating and putting effort into these games now with this new model. This is just the beginning. It's incredibly exciting.
But Will, this isn't absolutely new. There was a story, I think, a year ago, maybe, about RuneScape, which has been around for a long time, and how people in Venezuela,
Right,
were creating gangs of RuneScape
clans.
gold clans, right? And like mining this stuff, and they were making. There was one guy, I think he was making more doing this than he was as a doctor.
Correct.
And which is sad on many levels, but it's also wild that like people will find a way to make scratch out a living and all that stuff.
Well, I'm a big believer that this is reshifting again the workforce, especially at some of the entry level jobs. There's a reason that restaurants can't find wait staff these days, because what the pandemic did is it showed people there's more money to be made out there in the digital economy than hustling for tables and for scraps and for tips and things like that. You can go online, you could hustle and make more money and do it on your own schedule and be your own boss. I believe that NFTs are just going to completely reshift the workforce and the economy, especially some of those entry level jobs. And I think, we need to make some adjustments to prepare for that. And so do some businesses out there. But yeah, I think the playing field of making a living online is about to get leveled in a big way.
That's fascinating, Will. Thanks for that. I'm excited. I feel I just, I want to learn more. I feel like someone tweeted this the other day. We're like, where are the resources that people can actually go to like jump in? I think I've learned, a ton through osmosis, Will, and that WhatsApp group that I think you started or invited me to or something like that. But what's up?
I think Brian started that one.
Oh, got it. But like, how do people like get smart on the subject, right? Like what, where should people be? Like me, I don't know what gas fees are, for instance, these things that are somewhat foundational to the NFT space. Like, how does one kind of learn more?
There's a lot of great resources online. You know what? In the notes of this podcast, I'm going to drop some links that people can check out. One is an A16Z put out a phenomenal kind of starter kit that you could look up, and they have all these resources and explanations. There's a lot of great blogs out there. And I got to say, you really want to get plugged into what's going on in blockchain NFTs. Twitter is just a phenomenal resource. Follow a bunch of accounts there. The sharing in this space is just, you can't even quantify it. The NFT space reminds me of Miami Tech in the sense that everybody wants to help each other. in the sense that it's so well, it's like this early kind of community and everybody wants to build together. And it's like, how could I have your back? That's what like the digital space and the NFT space reminds me of. So like everybody wants to help. Everybody's willing to ask questions. I did a Twitter space the other day and I was one of the speakers and somebody comes on and they're like, I'm so sorry. This might be a newbie question. And I'm like, wait, we're all newbies. You know, there's no such thing as an expert in the NFT space. It's such like a new field. We're all learning as we go. This is all super early. So I get that same vibe in the NFT space that I do just with Miami tech in general. It reminds me a lot of it.
I think that there's also a piece where that it's so new and it's changing the world completely as we know it. And so I talk to a lot of people that are like, I don't understand crypto and I'm never going to understand it. And so like, I don't want to invest in it, you know, but what I tell them is like, you have to like think about it 10 times before you're going to actually start understanding, because it is so unlike the way that you have been taught to interact with the world today. And so also having the patience to like listen to somebody talk about it 10 times before it sort of clicks and ask all of the questions. I totally agree with that, because the question, there's not enough, no one has asked enough questions for there to be any question that sort of is an unfair question at the moment, because it's evolving so quickly.
No, exactly. And I completely agree.
No, and I think some people are and I'm probably guilty of this sometimes, be like, well, you know, it's just a phase, it'll go away. I don't have to learn about it right now. But it's showing it has a lot of staying power. So the quicker you start learning, the more up to date you're going to get versus having to catch up.
Phase. You just broke Will's heart there. Like, look at him.
That was the old me, and now I'm bought in.
Everything, like I think we all have to kind of be somewhat skeptics and look at things in certain ways. But I really believe fully with like every ounce of me that NFTs are what's going to onboard the masses into crypto. NFTs are is the bridge that consumer needed to crypto before. Like, okay, what is Ethereum and gas fees and Bitcoin and mining and all this stuff's too technical for me. But people get NFTs. We're collectors by nature. We like things that kind of spark and resonate with us. We're visual people. We see things and we can associate value to the way they look and make us feel. We're social creatures. So community and the idea of building community is a big deal. NFTs unlock all of that. So I really believe this is the big on-ramp that's going to get millions of people into the crypto space and just start learning about crypto and all this stuff. And again, I really believe that this is just the first inning. So anybody that's listening to this and be like, oh, I'm late to NFTs. No, you're super early if you're listening to this and you want to get into the space at all.
I can't wait for Art Basel this year for us to all be discussing whatever ridiculous NFT shit is going on at Cesi's Maluma concert that I'm going to will to happen. I'm willing this to happen or willing it into reality. But it's gonna be nuts. There's gonna be so many like Uber drivers trying to sell you NFTs. There's gonna be all these people who were flipping 5 mortgages back in 2008, flipping NFTs. You know, they're gonna be like minting your receipts at Publix. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, I mean, just we have a good plug here. I mean, this tweet that Brian referenced earlier in the episode went semi-viral, and you minted it, right? Like you could actually purchase it.
There's a reserve price. I've had 0 bidders so far. The reserve price was 1 ETH because I was going to then flip that for a fraction of a Bored Ape JPEG, you know, and then hope to then get a piece of ownership of Will's skateboard that he has behind him, you know. So this is the whole scheme I had thought up, but so far it hasn't panned out yet. So and so for the listeners, you know, Brian tweeted, "Whoa, just saw Miami startups raised over 425 million in VC funding in the last 5 weeks. That used to be more than our annual total." Hashtag Miami Tech at Refresh Miami. You know, and how did that do? You had like hundreds of thousands of impressions or something? Oh, I think we're close to 750,000 impressions now.
Wow. And
so,
retweets
all I should do is tweet once a quarter like a nugget like this and hope that Keith or a boy and the rest of the Founders Fund, and the mayor retweet it for me. So.
And I tell you what, for anybody listening or watching, if you buy Brian's tweet as an NFT, you get a free sponsor slot on the Miami pod. So
there you go.
Listening, that's your ticket to sponsorship. Own
Brian, you have to share the proceeds with the rest of us.
I'll wear a t-shirt on the next episode for them, so there's some visual sponsorship in addition to plugging them.
I think that this should be repurposed for the Maluma concert.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking this up right now. It doesn't look like anyone has buybrianstweet.com. So from now till when this airs, like we can keep this going.
Let's tweet that out. Let's tweet it out and see if anybody, if it resonates with anybody. You get a sponsorship slot.
All right. Man, what a good episode, Cesi. Thank you so much for joining the pod this week. You're welcome back anytime. Please say hi to James for us. And any last, words or anything you want to plug before we wrap here?
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been really, really fun, and I'm just so excited to see what we all continue building in Miami, because I think that the future is super, super bright, and sort of the sky is the limit on what we're going to do, and it's just the beginning.
And how can people find you online?
You can find me at Cesi de Quesada on Twitter, Cesi de Quesada, or on LinkedIn, Francesca de Quesada Covey.
Great. All right,
Say
team.
hi to my old crew at the Venture City.
I definitely will. For love, they miss you.
I'll be there soon.
Awesome. That's a wrap. We will be with you next week for episode 34. Thank you all for listening, and have a great week.